Malaysia's Prime Minister said May 21 he has ordered the Navy and the Coast Guard to comb the sea to look for stranded migrants. The first country to announce it will search for the refugees in desperate need of help instead of waiting for them to wash up on Southeast Asia's shores. As the region's migrant crisis enters its fourth week, it remains unclear how many vulnerable people are adrift at sea, but aid groups and the UN say there could be thousands and time is running out to save them. In the past 3 weeks, more than 3,000 people, Rohingya Muslims fleeing persecution in Myanmar and Bangladeshis trying to escape poverty, have landed in overcrowded boats on the shores of Indonesia, Malaysia, and Thailand. After initially pushing many boats back, Malaysia and Indonesia announced on May 20 that they will offer temporary shelter to all incoming migrants. Although the announcement was seen as a major breakthrough, rights groups said the proposal addressed only part of the problem, and urged countries to start actively searching for those stranded at sea. The UN Refugee Agency believes there are 4,000 still at sea, although some activists put the number at 6,000. Prime Minister Najib Razak addressed the concern via Twitter, saying that he had ordered the Navy and Coast Guard to conduct search and rescue efforts for Rohingya boats. "We have to prevent loss of life." Aid groups estimate that thousands are adrift on vessels without food and water, following a crackdown on human traffickers that prompted captains and smugglers to abandon their boats. Meanwhile, the Foreign Minister of Malaysia was scheduled to visit Myanmar on May 21 to discuss the crisis. The ministry issued a delicately worded statement saying the two would exchange views on irregular movements of people in Southeast Asia, using politically correct language so as not to offend Myanmar, which refuses to shoulder any blame for the crisis or discuss the matter if the word Rohingya is mentioned. The UN says the Rohingya are one of the most persecuted groups in the world. Neither Myanmar nor Bangladesh recognizes them as citizens. In Buddhist-majority Myanmar, even the name Rohingya is taboo. Myanmar officials refer to the group as Bengalis and insist they are illegal immigrants from Bangladesh, even though most have lived in the country for generations. Over the past few years, Myanmar's Rohingya have faced increasing state-sanctioned discrimination. They have been targeted by violent mobs of Buddhist extremists and confined to camps. At least 120,000 have fled to sea, and an unknown number have died along the way. While Indonesia and Malaysia said May 20 they would temporarily take in some refugees, they also appealed for international help, saying the crisis is a global, not a regional, problem. "This is not an ASEAN problem," Malaysian Foreign Minister Anifah Aman said May 20, referring to the 10-nation grouping of Southeast Asian countries. "This is a problem for the international community." Indonesian Vice President Yusuf Kala said his government was ready to shelter Rohingya for 1 year, while the Bangladeshis would be sent back home. "A year is the maximum," he said. "But there should be international cooperation." Malaysia has also set a 1-year time limit. So far there have been 2 offers from the international community. In Washington, the State Department said May 10 the United States was also willing to take in Rohingya refugees as part of international efforts to cope with the crisis. Spokeswoman Marie Harf said that the U.S. is prepared to take a leading role in any multi-country effort, organized by the United Nations Refugee Agency, to resettle the most vulnerable refugees. The tiny African country of Gambia has also said it was willing to take in Rohingya refugees. "As human beings, more so fellow Muslims, it is our sacred duty to help," the presidency said in a statement. The number 2 U.S. diplomat, currently visiting Southeast Asia, said he will raise the humanitarian crisis of the Rohingya when he meets with senior Myanmar government leaders on May 21. "The only sustainable solution to the problem is changing the conditions that let them put their lives at risk at the first place," Deputy Secretary of State Anthony Blinken told reporters in Jakarta.